ladies and dudes, you know who we be. Jabberjaw's in the booth. Morgan Esperado.
Gentlemen, Bastard.
Sinister Diplomat.
And today we're going to talk about that age-old question when it comes to superhero films. Are they introducing too many new characters in people's sorta pseudo origin stories? I.e., should Mr. Terrific, Hawkgirl, and Guy Gardner Green Lantern be getting introduced in this new Superman reboot universe? And by extension, the rest of these movies, should we be seeing so many of these other characters in our comic book films? But before we get into it, you know what to do. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. On the road to 1,000. Thank you very much. So let's dive real quick into it. Y'all already know, you've seen the casting for Superman Legacy. We talked about it in another video recently. And I mean, generally, it's nothing new. I mean, you've seen Spider-Man with Doctor Strange. You've seen, obviously, the Avengers, but you've seen all the Avengers in something like a Captain America, Civil War. And, you know, context is key where you see a lot of these people. But I feel like, you know, especially from, you know, more normies or older audiences or just kind of people in general, they don't appreciate seeing so many superheroes in a superhero movie. And for me, you know, a comic book reader, that's nothing new, and I'm okay with that. But let me throw it to the other Jabberjaws here. Gentleman Bastard, what you think?
Honestly, I do kind of like getting a little bit more of the new faces, having their first coming outs be all together with a bunch of people, just because it feels like then that way they can be introduced a lot better. That way they have it. It doesn't have to be an origin story. It can be just, here they are, they're backing us up. Now look at exactly what they can do. It's not going to be their full power, but it's going to be some of their power. And I think it's a good introduction way to actually have them come in and be part of somebody else's movie, or at least somebody else's type of story for that instant.
Yeah, I mean, for me, man, I'm not necessarily against having all these people in the movie at a point in time. Like, I think starting off, I understand this isn't supposed to be like an origin story or anything like that, so I'm not trying to get too antsy about it. I want obviously I want more, you know, superheroes and all that kind of stuff in it, but I also feel like, man, introducing, you know, everybody into the universe all at one time and introducing, you know, like multiples, it just you're leaving no room for other parts of stories in other movies, like in bringing them in that way. To me, I'm all about it still. I still like having all the superheroes in there, but if this is supposed to be about Superman, I don't know if I need all the, you know, the Green Lanterns and like all that kind of stuff in there yet.
And honestly, I kind of understand and agree to an extent on that, because, you know, I think me as a comic reader, it's easier to, you know, if you read any comic book event, you're going to Secret Wars, Crisis on Infinite Earth, you're going to be dabbling with so many motherfuckers, and if you're a comic reader, you've seen or you know or you've heard of, but there are also people you're like, well, fuck is this? But you just roll with the punches. Right. So I kind of understand, you know, like most motherfuckers are going to be like, who the fuck is Mr. Terrific? Right? And if you
at least 85%,
and like exactly, a lot of people are not gonna know who that is.
Even Guy Gardner as the Green Lantern.
Exactly, yep. They'll be able to accept that he's a Green Lantern, but they'll be like, "Who the fuck is this?" It's Nathan Castle's a Green Lantern. you know, like they'll be able to accept that shit. But you know, the reality is, like, people don't understand that Mr. Terrific is actually a real OG. He's like third smartest man in the DC universe. Helped Batman create Brother Eye. Like, you know, he's a real top tier character. Yeah. So, you know, for nerds, it's really cool. But I do understand, because, like, I when I saw that Mr. Terrific, Hawkgirl, and a Green Lantern get introduced, I'm like, how the fuck is this going to even work and make sense for a Superman movie? Because you're right, it's not an origin story, but it's a pseudo-origin story. This is a reboot of a new universe, and while you might not be telling his stories, you know, his origin story again, you are introducing us again to the first time a new Superman, and you brought in truly three obscure kind of characters. Green Lantern and Hawkgirl aren't super obscure, but Guy Gardner and look, like in Zack Snyder's Josh Whedon's Justice League, y'all didn't have Hawkgirl there
at all.
So she's
Hell, they
like,
barely had Martian Manhunter.
Yeah, so I mean, like, so in a way, she's kind of obscure to some, but most of us know her from Justice League, the animated series. So, so I'll be real, I'm excited for her to get her dues, get her flowers,
Oh, yeah.
But Mr. Terrific is definitely an obscure character. I'm excited for him because I know how smart and powerful of a character he kind of is. So, I think that's pretty sick to see and kind of cool. I'm like, oh, word, James Gunn, you're doing your research. But I do kind of understand that argument that you're like, hey, man, this is a Superman movie. And all three of those niggas have no attachment to Superman.
Exactly.
I'd understand if they threw in, like, fucking, obviously, like, Batman or, like, some type of rando, or not rando, but like just a superhero that had more, or Wonder Woman, like something like that, man. Like
more of a connection to
Superman. Like I understand that part of it.
Supergirl would be tight,
Exactly.
Yeah, like dude, like something just something different, man. But like I don't need to see all these guys yet, because then I feel like you are trying to create a Justice League, but like not
and that's
without calling it a Justice League.
Well, that's a good point. Those three characters, like, unless Superman goes to one spot, then goes to another spot, I mean, like, they're kind of Justice League-centered characters, or at least attached to the Justice League, that the only way you would meet all three of them at the same time would probably be the League.
Yeah, and like, and then again, I also look at it like, at least in Black Adam, like, I liked Black Adam, I didn't have no hate for it, but look how they introduced the Justice Society. They all came together and called themselves the Justice Society. Like they were a group already. Like they were.
And I think you're right. Okay, Black Adam's a good example of just like bringing in superheroes and not even questioning or asking the questions. We got the Atom, Cyclone, and Dr. Fate, and nobody gave a fuck. Nope. And I'm okay with that because I'm a comic reader.
Yeah,
that being said, Black Adam, most people liked it, especially for the violence, but it didn't make the money that it wanted to or needed to, and they fucked over Henry Cavill. Yeah. That being said, I wonder if that has to do, with the character.
It could. It definitely could.
But because it's weird, because Black Adam does kind of have a series where he's rolling with the Justice Society. He's part of that squad.
Yeah.
So, I was cool.
He's the definition of the anti-hero for us.
Yeah,
like, he's not a villain, but he's not a hero. But he's, again, that's what the Justice Society was for. Like,
Justice Society was kind of just, they were good guys, but Black Adam himself was trying to be more of a good guy during that time when he was running.
For sure.
But truly, I like introducing those characters because it can give you more stuff. Because, all right, let's take what James Gunn did with the Suicide Squad. He brings you the Suicide Squad, and then boom, Peacemaker gets a TV show. Yep. Now everyone's gonna be like, oh, well, John Cena killed. Well, obviously that's his game plan. He's trying to introduce motherfuckers so they can get shows, because that's kind of how comic books work. If you read a comic book and you're like, well, who's this character? I only seen him like crossing over in somebody's arc, or whatever. And then you're gonna go read their stuff. You're gonna go want to watch their movies. You're gonna go to watch their TV show.
And the movie's not out yet, so like we don't even know how long these people are gonna be in the movie. It could be a 5-minute flash.
And you don't know what he's gonna want to do with those characters.
Yep.
But so in some ways, I do think it's kind of cool in a good way. Because, like I said, just like characters, like Cloak and Dagger, like I said, they get introduced through Spider-Man, and then they get their own thing. There's a lot of characters that kind of get introduced that way.
Yeah.
That being said, is this the best thing for DC, the extended universe? Like,
especially
you're trying to
start out.
Yeah, like you're trying to restart. I know you want to take the throne. This is Superman. Do we need these characters? Now, again, what you announced were actually kind of tight. Yeah, so cool. It might be able to boost it. But is that going to be enough to save it? And here's another question. Are you boosting Superman because is it not strong enough on its own?
Exactly. Like, again, I don't know. Again, I'm not. Again, we talked about Blue Beetle before too. I'm not a Blue Beetle fan. I don't know Blue Beetle. Like
Yeah, Blue Beetle just looks so boring.
But,
It does.
But I'm gonna also tell you,
just all CG.
I'm also gonna tell you, I have not seen them talk about introducing anybody but Blue Beetle.
And that movie,
That's a good point.
So
there hasn't been
again,
anybody else.
I don't know if that's because they think Blue Beetle can hang on his own. I have no idea. It is a side character, but it's the same thing in Kraven that's coming out with Spider-Man.
That's true.
It's all about Kraven.
Yeah.
Maybe we get something in a credit scene with like Kingpin or something like that.
Right.
But in the long run, it's literally
Call
about
outs or something.
it's an origin story, but it's not at the same time. Like it's literally it's just telling you who the person is.
Right.
It's not
and
telling
that's
you where
where
they came from
I
or
guess
anything like that,
Superman's
man.
kind of weird because it's not an origin story, but it's a pseudo origin story. So I mean, maybe because you're gonna skip that origin, maybe this could actually lead it into some pretty cool territory. But at the same time, I am kind of, wondering if this maybe is the best direction.
Yeah. I'm not for it. I feel like they should. I'm all about introducing some characters, but I feel like they've only just begun, and I feel like it's still very, very early. So we probably could get a few more, and that could potentially make it into like a pretend Justice League movie without it being a Justice League movie.
Right.
which-
Kind of like Cap 3.
Yeah, dude. Civil War is not a fucking Captain America movie.
It's an Avengers movie.
It started off with Winter Soldier being that way in a sense, with us getting introduced to fucking Black Panther, Winter Soldier, and all these other fools.
I think he's in Captain Civil War.
No, that's
Black Panther is Civil War.
but he's in
Yep.
both.
No, I don't think he's.
I
don't think he's.
I have to go
I don't
rewatch.
think he's in Winter.
I had it a long time ago. Whatever. But either way, Civil War is not a Captain America movie. That's an Avengers movie.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh yeah,
And
all
if
the
it
way
was
through.
introduced to us as an Avengers movie, nobody would have been mad. Because
No,
it's
no.
called fucking.
Call it
it's
Avengers
called,
Civil War
it's
instead.
Avengers Civil
Mhm.
War. Like that's what
Yeah.
it's called. Like we would have not been mad. And again, they were so far into their premise of where they were going that we were already. They had us already. Like we don't care about origin stories at this point. We're already fucking here. We're in for it. Now we're starting over. We're trying to get into it. I think giving us all of it at one time could be a mistake.
Okay. What about you, Jen Ambassador? Final thoughts?
Well, I mean, you guys bring up great points. I do still like having people kind of get introduced just as, kind of just there. Kind of like how you brought up how Peacemaker got an entire TV show just by coming in out of nowhere. And I mean, wasn't he a random comic book character that wasn't even DC at first too? Like,
No,
it's like
I don't know his full origin, but I
know much
will
about
say
it.
that he was in Crisis on Infinite
Yeah,
Earth,
it's-
so he has a staple.
For
He's
him to-
been around.
Yeah, just be somebody who's like at least somebody that you never really heard of before to get all this right away. Like, who knows? Maybe we'll get a hot girl, hot guy type.
Hawkeye, Hawkman.
Hawkman, yeah, that's right. Hot girl, Hawkman, fucking show going on and all that. Like they've already got all those ones that were on WB or CW, getting all of those TV shows. But it's just like to be able to actually have some real stuff from this going right now. I'm excited for that. For them to actually expand and have a universe that hopefully isn't just something funny, comedy ridden, superhero shit, but an actual story base behind it with all these introductions. I'll be happy. I'll be excited for something like
I
that.
can agree to that point. I do I'm excited if there is an actual vision and
Mhm.
something that he wants to build off with all these characters,
Not just
because
some old bullshit.
yeah, because the truth in the matter is, these are comic book characters. They need multiple issues, multiple series, multiple whatever the
Yeah.
fuck to tell a
Yep.
full-on story. So, if the Hawks want to get a TV show or a movie or two, I'd be about it. I think all of us like
it's
them.
good.
But let's be real. We want to see Hawk Girl with Jon Stewart, Green Lantern. You know what I'm
Yes, we
saying?
do.
Like that's
Yes,
we
we
don't
do.
really care about Hawkman and her. Like we need to see. Yeah, we don't need a movie about them. Sorry about you, but so there's
That's also something I'm kind of mad about. They easily could have introduced Jon Stewart in this.
they definitely could. I think their TV show is still on the books, but
Hey, just give us the Green Lantern Corps.
yeah, but nonetheless, there's weird potential in introducing people that are new in an established characters. It's a good way to branch out, and honestly, in a weird way to say it, but trick audiences into be like, hey, you never heard of Mr. Terrific? Well, you're gonna like him now.
Find out.
Because Superman signed off on him.
You
So
don't know who Spot is. You about to find out who Spot is now.
exactly, because people are like, yo, this nigga's strong. What the fuck?
Yeah,
and he's a Peter Parker villain. You know, he's been around, but everyone's kind of like, yo, this nigga is no fucking joke now. You know, so it's a smart move. It's a smart marketing tactic, and I don't hate it. I definitely can see how it can have its downside, but the downside mostly comes from the fact on, is the movie going to be bad? If the movie's shitty, then all these introductions are pointless and useless. No different than Black Adam introducing Henry Cavill at the end of the movie for them to fight.
Why are you doing it?
Exactly.
Why are you doing it if you have no idea what the exception's
So,
going to be?
you know, with James Gunn's movie, in the long run, I think it comes down to if the movie is good or not, when those cameos matter, where those characters matter, because, you know, I do want to see where he goes and how he introduces the universe and what, you know, like, I'm curious. But at the same time, you know, only if it's executed well will it matter. You know, because I don't think people can complain, but if it's good, if you like the whole movie, you don't give a fuck. Why?
Nope.
Look at the Spider-Verses. Nobody cares that it's a shit ton of Spider-Man because, granted, you can kind of say it's all the same person. It's not. But nobody cares that it's all these Spider people because they actually like the movie. Nobody cares about the multiverse when it's a good movie.
Built a story.
Spider-Man was different.
Exactly.
It wasn't the same Spider-Man. It wasn't fucking 15 of the actual Spider-Mans rolling around. It was all of them from a different fucking universe. They're all different characters, and they didn't even introduce us to all of them. They had a select few talk, like, and they're like subpar Spider-Mans that you know you're not going to give two shits about, but you might go do your research after and go, oh man, who's Scarlet Spider, man?
Right, and I think that's the point, you know, like, these, and I don't hate it because being a longtime fan, you know, expand your audience by expanding them to people you never knew, and I think it's a good thing, but I do see the double-edged sword. But what do y'all think? Let the Jabberjaws know in the comment section. You know what it is. Please hit that like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. You know how we be. Jabberjaws in the booth. Vulgar Desperado.
Gentlemen Bastards.
Sinister Diplomat.
And we shall catch you on the next video. Peace.
We out.